Hello, how is everyone doing? I'm gonna be in Chitwan for about 2 weeks because my sister is getting married, so I will not be in class physically for a little bit. But I've recorded these videos to help us continue our progress with writing, and so that we don't, lose progress, and that we can improve ourselves a little bit. Uh, to that end, to help you guys, I've made this sheet for everyone. And basically, this sheet. Sorry, one second. Let me plug this in. Basically, this sheet is all the major stuff that I want you guys to review and keep in the front of your mind. This includes a lot of the basic mistakes. So, what's wrong, what's right, and why is it wrong, and how to make it right. And some of the other stuff that we've been getting wrong. Not all of you guys. Some of you guys have gotten everything right. Some of you guys have some minor mistakes in some of the categories, and other people have to, improve overall. But over this time, that's what this 1 or 2 weeks we're gonna be using for is to adapt our writing to make it a little bit better. Also, so there, and there is another focus. What to capitalize is another focus. Has versus have is another focus, a versus and then the basic categories of words. Now, this last part's a little scary. I understand. Some of you guys understand this somewhat well, some of you guys don't understand it at all, and that is fine. Um, I don't expect you guys to fully understand this. There's not going to be a test that I create that I'm going to make you write what every part of a sentence, what that word is, if it's an adverb, adjective, verb, or pronoun, noun. I'm not going to make you do that. I'm going to be very clear about that. But it is important for you guys to understand roughly what everything is. And also, it's somewhat impossible to say what a word is because a word can be a verb in one sentence and it can be an adverb in another sentence. It can be an adjective in one situation, it can be a noun in another. So, understanding that words change their meanings depending on what sentences they are is an important thing to know. But also, some words don't change, and understanding roughly what each word does helps our sentences improve a little bit. Because a lot of you guys are tackling writing your sentences, your essays, your paragraphs in like a robotic manner. Like you have one idea of how you write a sentence, but if that idea changes, if you're writing about something different, you don't change your sentence style to adapt with it. There's a million ways to say, I love to run. I love running. I enjoy running. Running is a major hobby of mine. That's like three different ways, and two of those uses the similar structure, and the last one uses a very different structure. But they all convey a very similar meaning. They all say that, hey, running is important to me. I enjoy running. Running is fun. I'm not saying it's going to be fun for you guys, running or even the sentence writing, but it is an important thing to understand and grasp. So let's start and let's focus on some of these basic errors and corrections. Now, these first two we've already reviewed, and we've already looked at this third one as well, but I've changed them a little bit, not all of them. But, sorry, one second, let's wait for that car to go by. Okay, so let's read this first sentence. I want to go to America and Canada and China and Nepal and Japan. Now, that sentence is wrong. Let's look at how to do it properly. I want to go to America, comma, Canada, comma, China, comma, Nepal, comma, and Japan, full stop. Now, we reviewed this already, but just to further emphasize, if you're listing more than two things, you want to use commas instead of and. So you use America, comma, Canada, comma, China, comma, Nepal, comma, and Japan, instead of saying, and. So, but if you just have two things, if you're just saying, I want to go to America and Canada, then that's fine. But if you go to three things, if you change it to I want to go to America, comma, Canada, and Japan maybe, then you need to use commas. Once it's more than two, you need to include commas. So let me write that first example as well. Okay, so just making sure everyone understands because I'm not going to be there to correct. If there's two, you can just use and. If there's more than two, you have to start using commas. And another thing that's very important for everyone to understand is that for the last one, even before the and, you still need to use a comma. So you can't just have it be like this. You need to say America, comma, Canada, comma, and Japan. Even when it's the last one and there is a and. So that's very important. But if there is only two things and there's only two items, America and Canada, you don't need to use a comma at all. You can just use and. Okay, perfect. Oh, sorry. Let's delete this. Okay, perfect. And the explanation is over here as well. If you want to review, if you want to um, make sure that you understand it, you can. And you can put notes on your sheet, or while I'm talking, if you have anything that you want to remember, you can copy it down in your notes. Or sorry, you can copy it down in your copy. You don't need to draw anything. You don't need to put a lesson plan. You can just write it as you want. A lot of you guys, especially when I'm trying to explain something, you'll waste time and you'll take your scales and you'll do all this and you'll spend 15 minutes drawing your lines rather than taking notes. You can do that afterwards if you want to take notes, but the most important part is getting the information down. So I prefer that you do that organization stuff later after you take your notes, if you want to take notes. If you understand the sheet, then you can just live off the sheet. I love eating momo. Now, we reviewed why this is wrong before. You don't want to repeat words to emphasize something. You want to use other words. So other words in this situation are adverbs. Now, I know this is going to be a little complicated for you guys to understand what an adverb is, but essentially, it's a word that modifies something. It's a word that means that you like something a lot or a little bit. For example, I really love eating momo. That so if you just say I love eating momo, yeah, you love eating momo. Momo is love is a very descriptive word. Love means that you enjoy something a lot. It means that you like something a lot. But you can also love something a little bit. You can also love something a lot. You can also just love something. So there's two ways that we can there's more than two ways, but these are two examples I wrote. I really love eating momo. I always love eating momo. That's two ways to emphasize that you love to eat momo a lot. Naturally, there's a million ways to say a million things, of course. We used that example about running earlier on, that you can, you know, sorry, you know, make sentences in a million different ways. You can say, I like eating momo a lot as well. You can change it. You can put the adverb, which is really or a lot, in the front or the beginning, depending on the adverb, of course. This is complicated. So just to make sure that we keep it simple, you can you do not repeat words when you really love something or when you want to emphasize something. When you say you don't say hate, you don't say love, you can say I really hate, I really love, I always hate, I always love instead. And we're going to focus on what adverbs are a little bit later, so don't be too worried about the rest of this. We're going to focus on this at the very end. So let's look at this one. I love going to Pokhara because it has beautiful lakes. I love going to Pokhara, full stop, and going boating on the lake. And there's a full stop there, there's a full stop here. Now, what's the problem with this? This is important. You cannot start a sentence with because or and. They are connectors. Okay. Now, what are connectors? So, the two main ones that we're going to be using in this situation right now, not in this situation, just in general for our writing at this stage of your grades at grade 5 and grade 4 and whatever else grade you may be, is you're going to be using because and end. So it connects two ideas with each other. You can extend a sentence. So let's look at this. I love going to Pokhara because it has beautiful lakes. Let's look at the second one now. I love going to Pokhara and going boating on the lake. So you cannot start a sentence with because or and. Now another example might be, let's say I write a question. What is your favorite wait, so, sorry. That was wrong. let me do this again. Do you, no, sorry. Why do you love ice cream? So if I ask you this question right here, a lot of people, when you're writing this question, or when you're answering this question, you'll be like, because I love sweet treats. That's wrong. We cannot start a sentence with because. We also cannot start a sentence with and. So if you're trying to answer this question, you can say, I love ice cream because it is tasty. But you cannot start a sentence with because. That's very important for you guys to understand and know. You can connect two ideas with because or and. You can say, like here, I love going to Pokhara and going boating on the lake. Or I love going to Pokhara because it has beautiful lakes. But you cannot start a sentence like here, where I love going to Pokhara, full stop, because it has beautiful lakes. I love going to Pokhara, full stop, and going boating on the lake. I'm sorry that I'm overemphasizing and using a lot of examples. I know some of you already understood this earlier, but I'm not going to be here in person to correct anything, so I need to make sure that you guys understand every example. Sorry for that break. Okay, let's read this example right here. I love to go out to the mall with my family, and my mom always gets me ice cream when we go, and my brother loves to go to the movies. Now, we reviewed this last time. Well, not all of us, but we did review this last time. And I did make some changes to the answer, so we're all going to learn together now. I love to go to the mall with my family because my mom always gets me ice cream and my brother loves going to the movies. Now, last time, instead of using because and, we just created new sentences. We just put a period here where because is, and a period, sorry, full stop where because is, and a full stop where and is, and we made three sentences from one. Now this time we used because and you can use either method when you're writing your sentence, but why you should think about using because and instead of, two full stops and making this sentence into three sentences is because the main idea of the sentence is I love to go out to the mall. And the additional details of getting ice cream and the brother going to the movies are related to that because the movies are at the mall and the ice cream is at the mall. And that adds to part of the reason. So I love to go to the mall with my family because my mom always gets me ice cream. So that's the first thing. And that's a connector. So because is a connector and it's used to explain words. So you say so let's use another example. I like to sleep because my bed is warm, for example. Or I love to sleep because I get very tired. Or, any myriad of reasons. You can have your own reasons. Or I don't like to sleep because I feel lazy. That's another reason. That's another example of using because to explain things. And is connecting two separate things. They can be related or they can be different. So in this situation, they're somewhat related. You know, and my brother loves going to the movies. That's a different idea a little bit because your brother is not the context of the sentence. You started the sentence with, I love to go to the mall with my family. So that's talking about yourself. I love going to the mall. And then you use and because now it's a different context. And my brother loves going to the movies. So you have shifted, but they're still connected ideas. You going to the mall with your family, your brother's part of your family, your brother goes to the movies at the mall. You go to do other things, but they're still related. So that's why you can use and. I know that's a little complicated, but as long as you understand why you can use and here, that's all that matters. Or instead, you can always just use a full stop here and make this my brother instead. But and flows more naturally in this situation. It's better to use and than a full stop and a new sentence there. So I included some of the explanation here. When adding details to a sentence, make sure to use because and in the right context. The right context to use because is to connect or to explain and connect an idea. And is to introduce a new related idea, but not an explanation. It could, yeah. I know that I talk about the same thing over and over and over again, and some of you who've gotten on the first one, um, get a little annoyed, but it's important that we continue to review and hammer home these points. So let's talk about this one. Went to the store. I played a game. Saw a big animal. Now, a lot of you guys, when you write your sentences, you include these little sentence lights, I like to call them. They're not really full sentences because they don't contain all the proper attributes of a full sentence. So let's talk about how we would fix the first one. Went to the store. Who went to the store? I went to the store with my mom. Or you could say, I went to the store because I needed to buy fruits, or because I needed to buy video games, or because I needed to buy a ball, or whatever. But you need to include an idea or a subject for your sentence to be a real sentence. I played a game. That's it. That's not a sentence. A sentence doesn't have a level of detail or some action going on. I played a game of football with my friends. So this includes a little bit more detail. What did you play? I played a game of football with my friends. So that's connected. So when you're writing your sentences, I want you guys to include a little bit more detail. I don't want you to say I played a game or I went to the store. I want you to say I went to the store because I needed to buy something, or I played a game of basketball, or instead of saying saw a big animal, we saw a big elephant at the zoo, or I saw a fox in the forest. Stuff like that. I want you guys to include more details in your writing because it makes your brain adapt and it makes you create new sentences. When you use these short sentences, you guys almost always repeat in your essays or your paragraphs or your things, because if you just say I played a game, you can use that in 15 different sentences in 15 different ways, but it's not really an example of good writing. It's pretty bland. It's pretty boring. It doesn't include any details. It doesn't give the reader any information. You want to provide information when you're writing a sentence, and a sentence like went to the store, or I played a game, or saw a big animal provides no information. You want some detail and information when you write. So, like I said here, make sure your sentences have have detail and are complete. Now let's review there, and there. There, right here, is a possessive adjective. Now, this is important to know, especially once we start reviewing, once we start reviewing this area down here, this section down here. But the more important part for you guys to understand are the definition. As long as you understand this, I'll be fine. But I would also want you guys to slowly start to remember what these are. Okay? So what is a possessive adjective? Possessive adjectives are adjectives, words, that are used to show something that belongs to someone else. So there is used to show that someone else has or owns something. Or is used to show someone else has or owns. Usually show something. Someone else is used to show something someone else has or owns. Okay, that's right. Sorry about that. Okay, for example, their house is huge. The students were playing in their classroom. So why do those make sense? So there. So let's say I'm talking about you over there, or you over there, or you. Sorry. I can be like, their house is huge. The students were playing in their classroom. When you're talking about something that someone owns, has, or you know, um, is a part of, you use there because you own something. Like when if you're talking about me, you would say he had or he's using or if you're talking about me, you'd be like their phone is nice, for example, and that would be about me. Or if I was talking about you, I'd be like their T-shirt is very cool. That's another way too. Yeah, that's another sentence. Sorry about that. Okay, let's talk about there. There. It's a contraction. A contraction is when two words are shortened together and or shortened and put together to make a new word. Now, there's a lot of examples of contractions. I thought I had some down here, but apparently I don't. Let me pull up. I should have somewhere right here in writing. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's look at common contractions right here. So these are some examples of some contractions. I don't need you guys to write these down or anything. I'm just showing you examples. For example, instead of saying I am, you can just say I'm. Instead of saying they are, you can use there, like we're reviewing. Instead of saying is not, you can say isn't. Instead of saying cannot, you can say can't. Instead of saying I have, you can say I've. Just for example, you guys should have seen these in books or passages you've read, stories you've read, or maybe some of you guys have already understood and started writing these down. Now, we'll review this in a different video, but that's just what a contraction is. Contraction. I'm not sure if they're called something else. I do apologize if you guys know this is a different name or word or whatever. And then down here, what do we have? Oh, sorry. No, let's finish this. So there means they are. It's a way to simplify a common word, which is they and are, or a common phrase, which is they and are. So in this situation right here, let's fix that comma. They, sorry, parenthesis. Not parenthesis, that is a quote. I apologize. Okay, sorry. They are the best football team. They're going to eat lunch. So when we're talking about a group, we'll be like, they're the best baseball team in the world. Or if we're talking about like PSG, we'd be like, they're the best football club. Or, stuff like that. Yeah, it's very simple. It's just they and are. Now let's talk about their. It's an adverb slash pronoun. So like I said, with this category down here, a lot of these words fit in multiple different categories based off the sentence they're in. So that's why they're a little complicated. But let's talk about the situation right here. Adverbs slash pronouns. Adverbs are used to modify other words, adjectives, and other adverbs, of course. And pronouns, let's do that right here, are used to replace a noun. Person, place, things, and ideas. Now we review these more down here, so you don't really need to know what this part is. But there is used to refer to a place, is to talk about a place. So I'll be like, there are books over there, or there's a water bottle in my bag right over there, or there are a bottle of let's see, gummies right there. Like, is you should talk about a place that's not here. So, if something was like here, I'd be like, my laptop is right here. But if I'm trying to talk about something that's a little further away or not right on me, I'd be like, the laptop is over there instead, for example. Now, I think these are pretty simple. I think most of you guys understood this in the sheet that I gave some of you, some of the students, almost all of you understood this very well. So I'm not too worried about you guys with there, and there. But let's talk about the next part. What to capitalize. Now, I don't really need to review this. I think everyone should be able to understand this. I'm going to do it really quickly, but let's talk about it. What to capitalize? You capitalize your months. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, December, August, September, October, November, December. Almost messed up. But all 12 of the months, or all 12 of the months, yeah, have to be capitalized, no matter where they are in the sentence. They could be in the middle, they could be the first word, they could be the last word. They need to be capitalized. Capitalized just means the big letter. Like, let me give you an example. Just making sure, because some of you guys were confused when I explained this last time. The one on the left right here, this is a capital letter, and this letter right here is a lowercase letter. Just making sure. So you can call this capital letter or an uppercase letter, and you can call this a lowercase letter. Okay. So just making sure everyone understand what a capital and lowercase letter is. The letter I. So when you're talking about yourself, so when I say I am going to the beach, or I am a strong individual, or I love when I go play video games, whatever, it always has to be capital. Let's look at these two examples. My favorite movie. Sorry. My favorite movie is Avengers. I love watching it all the time. One of my favorite things. One of the things I love to do the most is to watch YouTube. Sorry, I'm making a lot of mistakes right now. But I always has to be capitalized in these situations. No matter where in the sentence it is, if I is talking about yourself, you always have to have it capitalized. Yep. Now let's talk about what else you have to capitalize. Names, person, places, and things. Things mean, like in this situation, the names of books. There are other kind of names. They're names of books, movies, and paintings, which are types of things. For example, my favorite football player is Ronaldo. You capitalize the name. Now, some of you guys were in the worksheet I passed out when I was talking about something like the Taj Mahal. It doesn't matter if a name is more than one word. You still have to capitalize all the parts of it. So if it's Taj Mahal, both the M and the T need to be capitalized. Just like if I type my name, if I type Urbar Kattel, both the U and the K need to be capitalized. It doesn't matter if I have a middle name, if I have whatever, a middle name. I don't know what my middle name would be, but even if I did, that middle name would also be capitalized. So same thing when you're talking about like the Taj Mahal, or you're talking about any other buildings. Let's say we're talking about the Empire State. You know, it doesn't matter. Both words need to be capitalized because it's the name of a place, or a name of a thing, or a name of a thing with a name. So that's just important to remember. So we talked about Boda right here. I think it's technically spelled like that. And then Avengers, which is a movie. Uh, it has to be capitalized when we're talking about a thing with a name. Now, what is not capitalized? Let's talk about this. So I'm talking about like a eyeglass case. We wouldn't capitalize eyeglass case unless it was the first word of a sentence. We wouldn't capitalize bag. We wouldn't capitalize backpack. We wouldn't capitalize pencil because those are not unique things. Now let's talk about this next thing. Uh, let's talk about this next one. Sorry. The first letter in a sentence. So this is obvious. When you start a new sentence after a full stop, you always capitalize the first letter of the word. That's very simple. I think that's all the major examples. I think everyone should understand this. We reviewed this a little bit and it's not too complicated. Now, this next part, you guys have been having some trouble with, so let's focus on this. Has versus have. Now, so what does has mean? Has means to own or experience something. Now, if you notice, have also means the same thing. They both mean the same thing. It's just about when you use it, in the context that you use it. You use have when you're talking about individual things, when you're talking about she, he, it, or with names. So if I'm talking about myself, I'd be like, Ubar has a phone, or she has a t-shirt, or he's wearing some half pants, or when you're talking about an individual thing. So let's talk about like that desk over there. That desk has writing on it. But if I'm talking about all the desks, or if I'm talking about more than one desk, I'm saying those desks over there have writing on them. So if you're talking about one thing, you use has. So like he has an eraser. That poster has green on it. Or like this eyeglass case has a zipper. It's one eyeglass case. If I had three eyeglass cases, I'd be like, those eyeglass cases have zippers. Or she has a water bottle. Have, now, like we were talking about, is for multiple things. Or when you're saying I, when you're talking about yourself, or anything that you are a part of. So if it's I, so it'd be like, I have a phone. But if I was using my name, or if I was using someone else's name, I'd be like, Ubar has a phone, or he has a phone, or Bidi has a phone. Stuff like that. Also, we. We is part of the group. You are part of the group. It refers to yourself. So you say, we have spirit, or we have matching t-shirts, for example. You. I know this one's weird because when we talk about individual things, if you're saying it'd be like, that's one thing. Why wouldn't you use has? That's a good question. But it's also in the situation where it talks about a object in the distance, I guess is the best way of saying it. But the biggest thing is, I could give you the real nitty gritty detail of why you use you, but why make things more complicated than they are right now? You is just used with have. You have, they have, we have, I have. So let's look at these examples. Those posters have green on them. I have a toy robot. Do you have a pencil? So these are essentially all the cases that you're going to be using you're gonna be using has or have. When you're talking about an individual item or individual, um, or talking about an individual, you will almost always use has. The exception being you, or being when you're talking about yourself without your name. You're talking about I or we. Okay, let's talk about this next thing, a and n. So this is very simple. A and n is when you a word used to talk about one object or thing. Okay, so like I have a pencil. Okay, so that's one thing. A being one, like ota. I can't say that word properly. I'm sorry. Aota. Just like that. That's like the same thing as a and n right there. So when do you use a? Use a with consonants. So that basically means every letter except for vowels. If you guys didn't know, vowels are a, e, I, o, u, and u of course, and consonants are basically every other letter. Um, Basically, realistically, you only need to remember the vowels. So here are some examples. I rode a horse today. I ate an orange. So if the letter starts with a vowel, you're gonna use an. If the letter starts with a consonant, which is any letter that's not a vowel, you will be using a. That is the best. Oh, sorry, the consonant is here. So directly afterwards. What's before doesn't matter. It's the one that's right after that matters. Let's bold this so it's rememberable. Perfect. Okay. Now let's talk about the basic categories of words. Sorry, and also if you guys have any questions about why a vowel is a vowel, it's just how the language operates. That we have certain letters that are vowels. These are these five letters, and if there is a vowel, you have to use an. If you're talking about one thing, if it's a consonant and you're talking about one thing, you use a. It's simple. I wish I could talk about it a little bit more in detail, but don't have the time. Now let's talk about this very quickly. What is a noun? These are all the basic kind of words that you need to know. Like these are the kinds of words. So a noun is any word that represents a person, place, thing, or idea. So let's look at some examples. Persons. Messi is a person. Your mom, your dad, your mother, your father are people, are persons. Your teacher is a person. Who would have thought? Okay, places. So places could be anything big or small. If you're talking about the entire continent, you can talk about the entire world. If you're talking about the galaxy and the universe, you can talk about the world within that context. So you can talk about Asia, you can talk about Nepal, you can talk about Kathmandu, you can talk about Pokhara, you can talk about your village. You can't just say your village though. It has to be the specific village. Or, actually no, it could be just village in general. Village is a place as long as there's context. And school. School is a place. You're in school right now. Things. Books, cars, shoes, just things, objects. This bag right here, that pencil case, or sorry, that eyeglass case I was holding earlier. Ideas. Ideas like friendship, love, hate. Those are nouns. Now, this is not like a universal list. Of course, there's more ideas than just friendship, love, and hate. Now, of course, there's more things than just books, shoes, and cars. There's more places in Asia, Nepal, and school, and there's more persons than your mom, dad, teacher, and Messi. These are just rough ideas and rough categories for you guys to think about while you're writing. Pronouns. Pronouns are words that stand in for noun. For example, I would not always I instead of saying I don't say Ubar always talks about, or Ubar always does this, or Ubar does X, Y, and Z, or Ubar is gonna talk about this. No, I use I because when I'm talking about someone else, I'm not just gonna keep saying the person's name because once you know who I'm talking about, I can just say she is like this, or he is like that, or they are like this, or I am like that. I want to just keep saying Ubar is this and Ubar is that. I'd be like, I'm like this and I do that and I went there. Ubar went to the park yesterday. I wouldn't say that. I would just say I went to the park yesterday. Sorry, I spoke fast. Let's calm down a little bit. Pronouns are words that stand in for nouns, specifically when you're talking about individuals. They are used to avoid repetition. So, for example, I wouldn't say I met Ubar. Ubar is super cool. I would say I met Ubar. He is cool. So there are multiple places where we use pronouns. So you use them when you're talking about yourself, or you're talking about yourself in a group. You use them when you're talking about other people, like you and your. You use them when you're talking about other people, of course. Again, he, him, his, she, her, hers, and of course they, them, theirs. Now they, them, theirs, of course, can be used to refer to individuals or groups. Now, so about verbs. Verbs are words that show that you're doing an action. So or yeah, show an action or a state of being. Okay, sorry. So an action verb is like, a word that like shows that you're doing something or that you're doing like something. So like I'm waving my arms, or I am running, or I am eating, or I am jumping, or I jumped, or that type of stuff, or dancing. Well, that's fighting, but you know, linking verbs. Okay, now these are words that like connect um connect ideas. So for example, am, is, and was. So he is tired, or I am happy. And then you got like helping verbs. Verbs that can work with other verbs to show actions. So these are like will, can, and might. So for example, I might go for a run, or I will go for a run, or I can climb that over there. These are words that you use with other verbs to like, kind of modify them. So for example, run is still a verb, but might changes how you feel about the word. For example, might means maybe, basically, that you may or may not do something. Will means it's in the future. I will do this. It's a future plan. Or can means that you are capable, that you are able to do something. Like I can read, I can write. But you're not writing right now. For example, I can write. It doesn't mean that you are writing at the moment. Now, the last one are adjectives. Or, no, sorry, second to last one are adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe or give more information about a noun. They're used to add details to sentences. So, there's four ones right here. We're not going to review all of them because they all do roughly the same thing. They're used to modify nouns. So, for example, when I'm talking about a red house, red is a adjective. It describes a detail about the house. Or I'm going to a big house. That describes the detail. Or when we're talking about an amount of things, that's another way. So, for example, I have a lot of friends, or I have a few friends, or I have 8 pencils. Those are quantitative adjectives. Now, I know 8 is a number, but in this sense, it's also an adjective. Now, demonstrative adjectives. These are adjectives that point out specific nouns, this, that, these, those. So, I went to that house over there. I went to his house, for example. Those are words that help quantify certain adjectives. And possessive adjectives we went to at top. Now this is the last one right here. And I'm sorry if you don't understand these basic categories of words. It's not a super big focus. It's something that I will review further once I get back into person. If you have any questions about anything that we reviewed so far, you can write them down. And when I'm back, you can ask them. Okay. Or you can write them down and your teachers can send them to me and I can record a response. We will see. Okay. An adverb. Let's talk about adverbs. Adverbs are words that describe or give more information about a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Now that's a little weird. So the words that are adverbs, they affect both verbs and adjectives and themselves. That's a little bit of a complicated thing to understand. So once again, I don't expect everyone to fully understand this. It takes time. Um, I'm just trying to lay the foundation in your head right now. Adverbs of manner, time, place, frequency, and degree. So, for example, when we said there's like a lot, like I have a lot of friends, there's also, an adverb also can use to quantify something. So we're talking about this one right here. No, I'm sorry I didn't do the first one first, but I thought it was a good idea to link those two. So, adverbs are talking about how often you do something. So I always go running. I run every single day. Um, I never go for a run. Never, always, often. Those are adverbs. Those change the frequency. They also change the tone of a sentence. Because if you say I never run, that's a certain idea. And you say I always run, that's another idea. Now, adverbs of manner. These are adverbs. These are adverbs that describe how an action is done. Oh, I read the thing, but I was thinking in my head at the same time. Sorry. Um, so like, I happily went on a run today. I'm sorry I'm using run for a lot. Or I happily went to the park with my family today. Or that man was screaming loudly over there. Or, those kids were running very quickly. Or my grandfather walks very slowly. And adverbs of time. These are things that tell us about when something happens or when an action happens. So yesterday I went for a run. Today I'm going to climb. Tomorrow, or I'm gonna go climb later, or stuff like that. And so, the for places it's here, there, everywhere outside. I went for a hike outside, or I went for a hike over there, or stuff like that. And the adverb of degree. These are adverbs that tell us to what extent. So it's similar to frequency to a degree. Um, so it tells you about how often, or it's not happen, how much of something there is. So um, there's quite a lot of people over here. I almost reached the end, or I almost filled up my book, or I almost finished writing this, that type of stuff. It tells you that that means you're almost done, or I've done nothing related to that, or I've done very little. That's a degree. Now, this last part right here, I wish I could have talked about it in more detail. I don't really have the time. I might be actually going over my time at the moment. Um, but this is just the review sheet. This, you don't need to understand everything on this right now. It's just something that I want you to keep in the back of your mind while you're writing the assignments I give you in the future. Thank you.